Alright, part number, I don't know, 4? I think 4 of the Zorki 1 CLA. Last time I did the curtains, and this time I'm planning to install the ribbons and glue everything back together. Now, I mentioned this thing in a previous video about the workings of the Zorki 4 shutter, and I said that even if these two are moving independently, so they are basically connected to the same shaft, but there is no direct link between them except for the moment when they are mounted inside the camera, and that this gear connects the drum to the rollers via a pin that engages in that hole. And in that video I stated the fact that most likely the movement of one will induce a tendency to move on the other. So if the outer rollers spin, most likely they will induce a spinning motion on the drum and vice versa. And that is relevant when we are talking about speeds faster than the flash sync. For the flash sync, the whole film gate, right, must be cleared at one particular time. So when the flash strikes, the light of the flash strikes the film, the entire area is open. For the speeds outside of the flash sync range, so I don't know, 1/40th or 1/60th and above, the two curtains will always be present at some point within the frame. So the first one goes, and after some time the second one starts moving, and they form a slit that brushes the film plane. And because they are both moving at the same time, it means that when the second curtain starts moving, the first one is still spinning. So that spin will induce a spinning tendency on the second curtain that will, let's say, increase its speed, but more likely it will take away from the inertia of the drum. And just to test this theory, it's not mine, I saw it at some point on a forum, but it was quite disregarded for some reason. People were saying that no, they are not linked, this one spins freely. Well, it might spin freely, but when the curtains put tension on these rollers via the ribbons, they will so let's say this is inside the shutter crate, so it's fixed. The second curtain is attached to this, it is wound on the drum, and the ribbons are wound on this, and this is spring loaded, right? So being spring loaded, they will exert a force on the drum, and that means the drum is pulled against the shaft. Being pulled against the shaft, that means that the area on the other side of the shaft is the area where this drum will come in contact with the shaft, right? So when the shaft spins, the friction, no matter how much oil you use, the friction will induce the tendency to spin on this one. Anyhow, long story short, yeah, by the way, I have an issue here, and this is the issue. It's wobbling. And if I keep it from here, it's even more visible. So there is a slight deformation on the shaft. I will not try to fix it because I have no means to do that. I don't even know how. Just by trying to bend it by eye is too risky, and I do not want to break it. If I break it, it's game over. Since the movement is restricted to an arc of a circle for both the first curtain rollers and the second curtain drum, the fact that it's a bit wobbly will probably have less of effect. The only major problem would be if the bend in the shaft is so gross, right, that it will increase the friction between the shaft and the crate, respectively the shaft and this top plate, to a degree that it will impede its movement. Hopefully it's not the case, we will see. Alright, now in order to test my theory, I will need this mounted back, and I will need this. This is the smaller roller, it's for the first curtain, so I will attach the first curtain, I will attach the ribbons to the rollers, and I will leave the drum empty. No second curtain roller, no curtain. And that means that when I trigger the camera, only the first curtain will move, and I will make a mark on the drum. I probably, I don't know, put a little bit of masking tape, and I will make a slow motion video of this area as it's starting to move, so as I trigger the shutter. And I should probably see that if this was the starting point, this would be the stopping point of the drum. We'll see how that works. Maybe it works, maybe it won't, but I think it will work. All right, so I have already oiled the shaft under the drum in somewhere here and here, so the actual bits that come in contact with the shaft. And now I need to finish polishing these, because for some reason I only cleaned them. This time I cleaned them in nail polish remover that does not contain acetone. So it's an acetone-free nail polish remover. It worked pretty nicely. Actually, I still have a gooey one here that I forgot. Damn, I forgot for some time. Sometime means I think 2 days now. I guess it's metal, so no harm done. Or some rust. This one seems pretty clean. There's also the screw somewhere there. Yeah, I'll have to clean them also. And this is all residue from these guys. So everything was inside the little shot glass, and I let them sit for I don't know, a couple of hours. So all the old glue of the curtains and ribbons got dissolved. Alright, so what I need to do, and I will exemplify it on this one. There's something very strange about this shutter. Both these shafts have the same length of spring. It's the first time I'm seeing this. I don't have any leftovers here, but every single time except this one of the spring was longer than the other. So since one roller is bigger than the other, I will use, let me see, they are identical in length and they should be. This bit is just ever so slightly longer than this one. It's probably a manufacturing error because there's no reason for them to be different. These caps are different because this cap will get this bushing on top and the other gets nothing because it's connected to the longer barrel. And nah, I'll just leave them as they were. So I will polish this one and these two for this part. The other one is identical, so it doesn't matter. Just so I can start working on gluing everything back. And for this stage I will need obviously my Dremel, or it doesn't have to be a Dremel, it can be anything that can spin a little brush. I will also need a wire brush that I had around. It's a bit messy for the time being and I start losing stuff. It was here. Yeah, whatever, I'll find it. It's not important right now. I still have a couple of these super old and tired ones. And oh, here it was. All right. So, nylon brush or whatever this is, steel brush. It can be either this couple style one or regular one. And I will need a couple of Q-tips broken in half. And of course I will need the polishing paste. This is this. It's called Autosol. It's made in Germany and it's a metal polishing paste. Works really well on pretty much anything. And it's cheap and it's plentiful, so I guess it's a good combination. Alright, I'll start with this one because it's the smallest. Now, for the casing of the roller, I need to finish or to polish this area here. So it's the area where this guy, the shaft, will have to rotate against. Obviously, it needs to be as smooth as possible. And I'm using the Dremel and the Q-tip. It works wonders. I don't even know any other solution for this. Actually, I do know. Before trying this, I used to use something like this. This is for grinding, not for polishing, but I would cover it in masking tape and use it gently until the masking tape was starting to break off, so in order not to get the diamond particles inside. and it worked fine, but this method is quite a lot easier. And when you push it in, it will self-adjust in a way to the diameter of the hole. And you will feel it getting very, very warm or hot, depending on how much you insist. And then I use another Q-tip in naphtha or alcohol, doesn't matter, to actually clean the inside. And you'll see this dark metal mark on the actual tip. Is it Q-tip or bud? Earbud. And the entire area that was in contact with the rotating bit is now super shiny. Okay, that's one. I will also clean the inside, because I don't want any residue from that polishing paste. And this green goo is actually what's left after washing, or better said, submerging this casing in acetone. In acetone-free nail polish remover, actually. Alright, now this, let me change my glove. This one will ride on top of this one, and that means that I will have to polish this area and the inside, the entire inside of this roller, and that's a bit more tricky. But fortunately, the inside is like it has a groove, like a thread, so the total surface area that will come in contact with this is smaller, I suppose. I don't think my earbud gets very far. Now this one gets very hot very fast. And I also want to polish this. So this is the hole where the big drum will sit in and rotate, and that's also a point of friction. Alright, and now it's super shiny. So this one is ready, almost. I'll still have to clean it a bit. This one is ready. We also have this one. Alright, and this one. Okay, if I want to polish the edge of this, so it's a cylinder, the edge of the cylinder, I can take a bit of paste and simply rub it against a rag. And that's usually enough. Alright, and for this I will swap to the nylon brush. Alright. Get some paste on it. And simply use the brush to polish. This is an oil, shutter oil. I use a bit on the spring just to have it protected from oxidation. Now this sound is the lack of lubrication. What's important to lubricate in case of these rollers is this point, so where the shaft exits the actual casing, and that point. And you can use either shutter oil, pretty much any oil, but it has to be something very light. But I suppose modern oils are all better than whatever the Soviets used, so it doesn't matter that much in these cameras. I wouldn't use anything on a Leica, for instance. So you have a point there and a point here. The quantity is very small, and what I like to do is, this is a mixture of naphtha and alcohol. I will also drip a bit of this on both ends, because this will get the oil even thinner. It will spread it across the surface and then it will evaporate, leaving only a small, very, very light film of oil. So if I am to re-twist it, the sound is gone. So if you have a camera that squeaks, and I think I have an example. It's a Fed 3. Let me see, does it squeak? I don't think you can hear it. It has a slight squeaky sound. That sound is the lack of lubrication, or not necessarily the lack of, but the presence of the old lubricant that's all dried. Alright, so here we go again. All nice and dandy. Good. Now I will clean this mess, and then I will have to stick this curtain to this roller, and I will have to stick it like this. Alright, and the roller is like this. Being a bottom loader, you will never see the back like you would normally see it in an SLR or any camera that has an opening back. And since you don't see the back, there's no need for you to see the rubberized side, which is the ugly side. So in the case of these cameras, the curtains are glued upside down, or rubber side back, That's a way of putting it. Right, because this is the way it will turn. Come on. So pretty much this is the side that will be facing the lens, and that's the only side you'll be able to see. Usually this is the way you glue it. Alright, in order to glue it, this is the last thing I will say and then I will fast forward. You need to make sure that the leading edge, so the edge of the bar or the curtain, is parallel to the roller, because the roller should be parallel to the other roller and to this assembly, since hopefully all the holes were drilled correctly and everything is squared inside the shutter. That's a supposition, not a certainty, but so far they've all been straight. So I will use masking tape to align the edge with these lines, and then when gluing the casing of the roller, I will try to make sure the casing is also parallel to one of these lines. And I will have to remember that this curtain is shorter than it's supposed to be, so it's not 75 millimeters, it's probably 71 or something like that. Let me check. Yep, 71. So I have 4 millimeters of shortage because I used some old piece of curtain, and those 4 millimeters of shortage means that I will have to only glue it a bit. So instead of going a full turn, I will only have to, actually I can calculate this, because the roller sits in this hole and like this, and the edge of the curtain is somewhere around here. So let's see how much we have. Like 48, let's say 50 millimeters. So 50 millimeters is the free part of the curtain, and that means the rest can be glued to the roller. I will use less than that because it seems weird. Anyhow, to glue, to apply the glue on the roller, on the curtain and not on the mat, I use a piece of, this is a Teflon tape used in cooking, so you put it in the tray. I put this under, and I will use glue for like, let me check again. Yeah, so 50 is about here, and I will go with the glue right about here. It should be enough because there is no force on this curtain big enough that could rip it open or rip it apart. And normally you should use this contact cement on both surfaces, so this one and the roller. Apply the layer of cement, let it dry until it's no longer tacky, and only then put the two surfaces in contact, but it sticks like instantly, and I need to be able to adjust it if necessary. So at this point, if I'm not satisfied with the position, and let's say I feel it's a bit slanted, I can simply pull on the end that is too close to the end of the curtain. I pull slightly and it will glide, the roller will glide on the curtain, and that's how you can make very fine adjustments until they seem correct, or until you get a nice jig. I've started working on the updated version, and I think it has a lot of potential. I'll see what and how it will work out. Okay, I'd say it's enough. Ideally it would go all the way up to the other end of the curtain, but I don't think it can unglue itself. And of course, if I have enough room, I can add a bit more glue. Let's see. So this will go here, and the end of the curtain is there. Yeah, I'd say that's good. All right. Ribbons next, after a short break. All right, back for the ribbons. So I've got ribbon material here, and remember, this is the first curtain, so the length of the curtain is not essential, but the length of the ribbons is essential. So that one is the one that you need to get straight. So first curtain ribbons are 99.5 millimeters, and in order to get it correctly, I will, and not to waste material, I will first of all glue one, cut it to length, glue the other, cut it to length. Okay, so let's take this much out. One more thing about curtains that I learned kind of the hard way. You need to keep in mind the position of the two curtains inside the shutter, the way the ribbons overlap, and the friction zones. What I'm trying to say is, so this is the first curtain. It will be like this. This is the second curtain that will be like this. The ribbons of the second curtain overlap the ribbons of the first curtain. So the second curtain, where is my tweezers? The second curtain is actually on top of the first curtain. In order to reduce friction, and I already see a friction point here, so this end of the stitching is not where it's supposed to be. I'll try to see if I can, but I can't, it's too late now. Anyhow, it is what it is. Since this one is on top of the other, it means that the ribbons, or not the ribbons themselves, the end of the ribbons should be in such a way that the bottom, if this is the top, let's say this silky side is the top and the rubber side is the bottom. So how can I explain it? The ribbon will be twisted and glued like this, right? So this area that has the overlap should be on the top for this one and on the bottom for this one, in such a way that the two overlaps, so the two stitching parts of each curtain, will never come in contact. One thing is to rub an end of ribbon that's glued to the other part of the ribbon. So if this is the end of the ribbon and this piece that overlaps, it's glued to the other piece on the bottom. And if you have this one facing up on the first curtain and a similar arrangement facing down on the second curtain, the two edges will rub against one another, so the ends will rub, and that is a lot less desirable than having this part, which is a continuous piece of ribbon, rubbing against another continuous piece of ribbon, especially when you have no stitching. When you have stitching, that's even more important to get right. So to have the ends of the stitches on opposite sides. I hope it makes sense. Anyway, so I should have the ribbon like this, continuous side facing up. If I take this away, rotate this like so, and that means I have to get the stitching, not the stitching, the gluing on the rubber side. Alright, so I usually keep this like this, so silk side up, and come with the ribbon like this. But I should do it like this, right? Okay, so get this straight just in case. This bit is not important because you can't really get the ribbon crooked. It's just a very small surface area that you are gluing onto, and it really doesn't matter. What will matter will be getting the length correctly attached to the rollers. And this should be enough. So I will apply glue for this entire length. All right, and now I can cut it to the correct length, flip it upside down, or actually the correct side up, and I will still keep this one in place because it's easier to not have it moving around. And I will make an initial, see, when I pull on this, it flips on the other side, and I don't like that. So I have 99.5. That's almost here. Okay, double check. So from this point to this point I have 99.3, and if I take it to 0.5, it should be the edge, the left edge of the mark. Okay. Left edge of the mark. Alright, now there is an issue with cutting the ribbon with a cutter or a craft knife or whatever. through masking tape, and the issue is that when I will remove the masking tape, it is very likely to start undoing the ribbon. We'll see. I usually use a scissors, so I keep it straight, I measure, I cut, but this time I don't know. See, it's starting to unravel, so I need to cut it swiftly. Alright, this is one. This ribbon material is from Japan, and it's slightly different from the Soviet one, which is more, I don't know, dense. It doesn't unravel like the Japan one. It's probably a totally different material, but it's the same size, and well, this is probably the best you can get. All right, so alright, and now you need to glue them to these two rollers. And this is the first of the tricky parts, when you will need to exactly glue the ribbons to the marks. Now I usually, just to make sure that I've got everything correct or correctly set up, I usually use double-side tape. Then I get everything back together inside the shutter, test the shutter and adjust if necessary. But since I feel both lazy and lucky, I will glue it. I'll glue it correctly from the first try, hopefully. Alright, this was the line that I scribed on the roller from the original ribbon. It only had one intact ribbon, and that was the line. The other one was approximate, so now I need to glue the other one in such a way that the drum is parallel to this edge. The edge is parallel to this line, so then I will have to glue it in such a way that I can see this end, this tangent plane to the drum being parallel to this line, and that's a bit tricky. This is one of the reasons I need or want a jig, because that will make things a lot easier. So get this as straight as possible. Alright, it seems pretty decent. We'll see if I got it right or not. I only used glue for a bit of the entire circumference, and I will leave it like that because the next step will be to get it back inside the crate and test my my theory. And if everything seems to be straight, then I will glue the rest of the ribbons. For the time being it looks okay, but I've said that before and I was not right. Alright, now in order to get it back, I will need to put back the restricting gear, but I think I can manage without it. So I would only need this and this. Alright, so without putting any screws back, because I need to find them, this is the shutter cocked. When you release the shutter, this if the camera is complete, okay, so you also have the second curtain. When you release the shutter, the drum will rotate clockwise to feed the curtain back to this side, right? So I will rotate it manually clockwise as far as it goes. I will put this piece of masking tape here and I will release the shutter. So this one is free to move, right? It has no curtains, no ribbons, nothing. It's just sitting on that shaft. And now I release the shutter. Yeah, I think it was pretty obvious. It went a full turn and actually it stopped against its maximum position. So from here it went like this, it stopped against this stopper and bounced back a little. That's how much influence one has over the other. Now, what this influence means in real life terms, I am not totally sure. It means that the second curtain can run with a very, very low amount of tension on the roller. That's the first consequence. It also means that you can't really adjust, I mean, you probably can, but it's not easy to adjust the shutter for all speeds. I mean, for let's say 1/30th and 1/500th at the same time, and obviously you should. It also means that the curtain travel times will vary from the long speeds to the short ones. All right. So this is pretty much the way the curtains are glued back. I won't insist with this because it's kind of pointless. What I still want to check, and I should have done that is to see how straight this curtain is in respect to the film gate. So I will have to put it back. Although without screws this is quite wrong. I will align the holes as much as possible, and no, I'll find the screws. It's not okay like this. Anyhow, yeah, this was a long one, and I hope the next one will be shorter and more efficient. Next episode, putting the shutter back.